Bitcoin has seen its most bullish month in over 37 months. Now retesting the final level of macro resistance, will Bitcoin blast through this level, inevitably retesting the prior all-time high, or could we see a short-term correction? We're going to be jumping in the video discussing these points. Let's dive in. Okay guys, welcome back to the channel. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you're all having a fantastic day today. In today's video, we are going to be discussing Bitcoin from a macro and a short-term perspective, going over the upcoming monthly candle close, the current level of high time frame resistance, which acts as the final level of resistance before a macro continuation to the prior all-time high, as well as going over the short-term price action, what you should be expecting, where Bitcoin is likely to go next, and finally finishing up on the total cryptocurrency and total altcoin market cap. So we have a lot to jump in today, and before the end of the video, you'll have a very detailed and well-rounded understanding of not only what to expect on the macro, but of course, what to expect on the short term as well. So before we get into it, smash that like button, hit that comment button, and subscribe to the channel. We post daily videos for Bitcoin focusing on the facts, the data, the technical, and the structural information. No hype, no BS, no emotion, pure raw TA. If that is the kind of content you're interested in, join us on Telegram. It is the third link down below. You'll get updates on charts, analysis, videos, educational posts, news events, and everything you need to stay in the loop of cryptocurrency with Bitcoin and the relevant economic news. If you're interested in taking your trading to the next level, you can join us in our VIP group. We post trading setups with exact entries, exact targets, exact stop losses, trade justification, exclusive analysis, and so much more. You'll also get access to our group chats, our general chat, our trading chart and education chat, our news, our help, and our daily video chat. If you're interested in access to all that, contact us in the pinned comment of the free channel. For more information, you can also view that link over here. Let's go ahead, guys, and jump on in. So like we said, Bitcoin has had a fantastic month. If we look over the monthly returns, in fact, Bitcoin saw a 46.13% gain for February, which was the largest gain since December 2020, which is actually 37 months. So over 3 years, Bitcoin saw the most bullish month in over 3 years, which is fantastic to see. Looking at the price action, Bitcoin is now retesting a major level of resistance, which is actually our final level of macro resistance before an inevitable continuation to retest the prior all-time high, but most importantly, to enter price discovery. This level of resistance is, in fact, the monthly opening and closing price of the two candles, which essentially mark the top of the last cycle. You can see right over here on the monthly chart that closing and opening price was actually marked by this horizontal trend line, and we are breaching that level. That level on a weekly chart is actually reflected by this red box, and thus this is going to be the final level of resistance before a continuation to retest our prior high and to enter price discovery. So it's a very significant level, and we're discussing that in a lot of detail today. Before we do get any further, we'll jump over to the DXY. So the DXY is looking okay, actually. Again, we have broken down from this 2-month-long uptrend. We are in a short-term downtrend. Momentum is negative. However, we are seeing some reluctancy for a continuation lower, as we are finding a decent amount of support around that 50 MA. Again, while we may move between this zone over here, we are expecting a move towards our lower range to retest these lows at around 103 prior to a retest of this 105 level. So at the moment, nothing but sideways price action for the last few days for the DXY. Moving over to the S&P 500, we do have 22 minutes until that weekly candle close for the S&P 500. Again, guys, if we are unable to close that weekly candle above 5,100, that is not necessarily a bad sign. Of course, if we are able to close above that level, that would indicate a continuation in the new week. If we fail to close above that level, it's not going to be bearish. It's not really going to mean anything other than the fact that 5,100 is going to be acting as a key weekly trigger point for a continuation in the future. The most important level that we do remain above is still going to be that 5,000 psychological level of support. A loss of this level could result in a short-term correction back down to retest that prior all-time high At the moment, it is still looking bullish and we are still expecting a continuation upwards. We are watching that weekly candle, see how we close out. Moving over to the Dow Jones, we can see we're sitting just below that $39,000 level of support. Again, the 39K level of support is a pretty key level we do want to hold above. But most importantly, holding above our 37,700, which is going to be the local low of this consolidation range, is going to be the key trigger point we need to remain above to remain bullish. A breakdown of that level could result in a retest of the prior all-time high. While we do remain above 38K, we are expecting a continuation upwards on the macro to 40,000. So overall, looking good. We are starting to see some exhaustion develop. Whether that exhaustion develops into a downtrend, it is yet to be apparent. Let's go ahead, guys, and quickly discuss what we'll be jumping over in today's video and then get into Bitcoin. So as we discussed in the beginning of the video, we will be discussing in immense detail what this means for the macro price action. We'll be going over the monthly charts in regards to our momentum analysis, in regards to our structural analysis, and potential top dates for Bitcoin. We'll be looking at the 4-year cycle in a little bit more detail and explaining why the 4-year cycle is not broken. And we'll also be going over the short-term price action, discussing the next likely moves for Bitcoin. Have we exhausted? Will we continue upwards, or are we going to see a correction? So without further ado, a quick word from Bitget BingX and we'll dive on in. I wanted to briefly interrupt today's video to discuss the 2 exchanges we use on this channel, Bitget and BingX. So which exchange should you sign up to? If you look to the right hand side of the screen, you're going to see the list of differences in relation to KYC requirements and the countries these exchanges offer services to. The first link down below being the Bitget link and the second link down below being the BingX link. No matter which link you sign up to, you're going to get up to 15% discounts on your trading fees, up to $5,000 in trading rewards, and of course, you'll get access to every single MegaWhale exclusive bonus campaign we run on these exchanges. Alongside that, Bitget and BingX are incredibly similar. They are both ranked top 10 in terms of trading volume. They both have extensive liquidity pools and market pairs offering up to 125x leverage. And most importantly, they both offer protection funds for their users to protect you against any third-party hacks. So get started now and support the channel by clicking the links below. Thanks for listening. Okay guys, let's go ahead and get stuck into it. So starting on the short-term price action today and building up to that monthly chart, the short-term price action have seen a phenomenal move toward the upside. If you've been paying attention to the channel, you would know we told you guys at this range over here, we were seeing bullish absorption. We're expecting a continuation upwards as we saw price action creating equal lows and momentum falling. We told you guys when the RSI would break on the 4-hourly above that pivot point, we would see a large expansion in the price action, taking us up to potentially $60,000. That is exactly what we have seen from here. On the short term, we reached quite high. We actually went to around $64,000, temporarily breaking through this high time frame area of resistance on the weekly and monthly chart. Taking a look at the current price action, it is a little tricky to decipher. However, knowing us, we'll jump into it and we'll give it our best shot. So what we can see over here is we do have a downtrending trend line developing. This is going to be our confirmed and a validated downtrending trend line, as we do have our RSI to back up our pivot points. Looking at our RSI over here, we can see we have our pivot point number 1, which matches up with our first level of resistance, and we have pivot point number 2, which matches up with our second point, and we need 2 points to develop a trend and a third point, which we can see over here, to validate it. So we do have a valid downtrend which we have been developing, and we do have, which is apparent by this downtrending diagonal trend line. Looking at the current price action, we can see we are developing slightly higher lows. We have our first low over here, and we have our second low developing from this range. What we can also notice is our momentum is reducing. We have a downtrend in our momentum. From this first pivot point to the second pivot point, we developed our trend, and we have validated our trend on our third point. We can see the momentum is falling. This is an indication that within this cluster of price action, okay, which I've just gone ahead and drawn a square around, which is developing within this range of price action, okay, on the higher time frame, we are starting to see weakness develop, and we are starting to see buyers step in to push the price down. As of right now, we can see we do have the adequate strength, or we do have adequate buying pressure to prevent the price action from actually correcting much lower, which is an indication of absorption, right? We have, again, lower lows on the RSI, and we have higher highs on the price action, or should I say higher lows on the price action. This is an initial indication of absorption. So absorption is present right now, meaning the bulls are attempting to continue this trend upwards. However, they have not done so yet, and we have not validated a continuation yet, as we do still remain underneath our downtrend and our momentum is negative. So what am I seeing on the price action right now? I am seeing the bulls are trying to step in. They are defending the levels of support right now. They are trying to reverse this trend to continue it back upwards. However, as of right now, they have not done so. So what are we actually really looking for? We are looking for two things. Number one, well, three things. We look for trend, we look for strength, and we look for structure. These are my three core rules when I look for breakouts. So we are looking for trend. Are we in an overall uptrend? Do we have the strength on our side to facilitate a breakout, okay? And have we broken out of our structural levels of resistance? So to answer that, we have neither of the three. We have none of the three, okay? We are looking for a break of this RSI trend line that is going to indicate strength, okay? A positive momentum shift tells us that within this cluster of price action, all the momentum so far has been negative, has been reducing, but if we break above this trend line, we will then see momentum flip positive for the first time within this cluster of price action. Generally, when we see momentum flip positive, we usually see price action follow, as momentum is a leading indicator of price action. Thus, we would then be expecting a retest of this prior or this current downtrending resistance. If we do have positive momentum, it is very likely this downtrending level of resistance will break. If we look at our structure, we can see on the VIPV, we have a huge consolidation range developing over here in terms of our volume, but it significantly drops off above 64,000. Therefore, we do have a structural level of resistance around that 64,000 trigger point, and thus we can say a break above our 64,000 level will validate a strong continuation upwards, likely to go ahead and push us up into this all-time high range, guys. So on the short term is very important at actually expecting or projecting whether or not Bitcoin is going to break through this level of resistance and continue upwards or correct. So to summarize what we just said, for the bullish case scenario, for Bitcoin to break through and continue upwards from this major final level of resistance, we need to see three things. First thing, momentum has to flip positive. That will result in a rally to retest our downtrend. We need to break above our downtrend, and that would facilitate a continuation through this resistance and a continuation upwards. So that is what we're looking for. So let's talk about the bearish case scenario now, as the bearish case scenario in the short term is actually still valid since we have not had those bullish trigger points actually execute. So if we go ahead and draw our current trend in, taking the trend line from the break or the initiation of the uptrend since that horizontal consolidation, we can see we are very much now in a overall downtrend. This is our overall uptrend. Okay, our 4-hour uptrend, and now we are actually in this overall downtrend. So right now, the trend that we are following is not this trend, it is this trend. So we are in this downtrend right now. Again, for us to break out of that, we need to validate those bullish trigger points. So that runs the risk of a correction, which we have been discussing. We'll talk about now again. If we fail to remain above our low points, this low, and we create a lower low, that is going to be indicative that the exhaustion developing in this range, as per our downtrending resistance on our momentum, has developed to the point of which the bears are back in control. So if we lose this low, and we could come back down and create an equal low, okay, but if we lose this low and print a lower low, that is going to be indicative of extreme weakness on the short term, and would likely result in the price action filling this VRPV gap, taking us back down to 57,000, which is going to be this prior level of structural support. That would result in the price action breaking below this level of high time frame resistance, and this high time frame resistance would likely actually validate as a level of resistance. This is obviously not a very good thing. At the moment, it is about a 50-50 chance. I would say slightly lower than 50% chance, as we are seeing some bullish absorption develop. The likely direction is still upwards for now. However, if we do break below that low, this becomes a real possibility you should be aware of. Now, I would like to say, and I hope this goes without saying, even if we do see a correction on the short term, the macro charts are very much still bullish and we expect a continuation upwards. Contextually, guys, provided Bitcoin actually remains over 48 to 46K, we are massively expecting a continuation upwards. So it doesn't really matter what happens between this range. This is going to be still a bullish range. It doesn't matter if Bitcoin comes down. It doesn't matter if we come all the way down, halfway down. It doesn't matter if we don't go down, okay? Provided we remain above 46 to 48K, we are macro bullish and expecting a continuation through the prior all-time high. So I wouldn't stress too much on the short term unless you're scalp trading. Those are good opportunities. But if your perspective is, oh, where is Bitcoin going to be in a year from now? What am I going to do in 12 months from now, 6 months from now? I wouldn't worry too much about this resistance. I'd be, paying attention to it, but I wouldn't be sitting there sweating over it, okay? Let's go ahead and discuss the macro chart. So moving over to Bitcoin. Like we said, guys, we have just seen that monthly candle close above 48K. So really quickly, why is 48K important? 48K is going to be the dead cap bounce high of the prior bear cycle, okay? This is our all-time high. We retested base of support, created a low, came up, created a lower high. This is going to be our yearly level of resistance, our dead cap bounce high. We can see it happened over here. We can see it happened over here. What we notice is every single time we break a monthly candle above that level, not only do we never drop below it again, which is massive news. That means Bitcoin will likely not drop below 48K again, but we generally end up moving into the parabolic phase of the bull run into the all-time high. What else we have noticed is when we break above that dotted trend line, the all-time high generally comes in around 13 from what we've seen before, okay? A breakout of level 13, okay, to 14 months after the breakout. 13 to 14 months after the breakout. So we just had that breakout now. So 13 months takes us to March 2025, okay, and 14 months takes us to April 2025. That would still put the all-time high within the bull run phase of the 4-year cycle. And a lot of people are saying the 4-year cycle is broken. Guess what? As long as, okay, the all-time high happens within this green territory, okay, and the absolute bottom of the prior cycle happens within the next red territory, the 4-year cycle is technically still valid. The 4-year cycle is a date range trend. It doesn't concern itself with price action. As long as the all-time highs happen within the bull run phase and the bottoms happen within the bear market phases according to the date range trend, the 4-year cycle is still valid. Will we see an earlier top? Well, according to this structure over here, the breakout of 48K happening earlier than expected, we will likely see an earlier top. If we look at our 4-year cycle date range trend from what we have seen before, the date range trend suggests we have 1,064 days, okay, 1,064 days between our lows, okay, from our lows to our all-time highs. In this instance, 1,064 days from our low to our all-time high takes us to October 2025. You can see our projection for an all-time high is March to April 2025. October 2025 would be an additional 4 months. Additional 4 to 7 months. So yes, we are likely going to see an earlier top to the cycle. No, that doesn't mean the 4-year cycle is broken. It just means an earlier top, maybe a longer a bear market, maybe an earlier bottom. No one knows for sure. Overall, looking fantastic. Moving over to this chart again. There is another thing I want to be discussing, and let's just go back to this chart and make sure we get rid of these things. Okay, perfect. This is going to be the RSI. What we have noticed on the RSI as well, and I see a lot of people talking about this again, we've been mentioning this stuff for so long. The RSI trend line on the monthly, what we have seen in the past was a rejection over here at the 65 to 67 range, a rejection here on the 67 to 65 range. Those rejections marked a rejection point from the dotted trend line. We have seen a break on the monthly of that level, and thus we have seen a break on the monthly of our dotted trend line. We can once again See how momentum is a leading indicator for price action. When we do see a break of that level, we actually end up in this parabolic phase. Okay, have a look at when we break above this level. We end up in that parabolic phase, break above that level, we end up in that parabolic phase. That parabolic phase is going to be essentially when the trend angle, okay, the angle of the trend. We'll show you what that means really quickly. If we take the line over here, we go down to our trend angle, the angle of the trend from the breakout of that RSI trend line to the all-time high, 66 degrees in comparison from the low to the breakout, 35 degrees. The breakout from that trend line and the breakout on the RSI from there to the all-time high, 54 degrees, and from the bottom to that point, only 30 degrees. So it signifies that this shift in momentum here is going to result in a high time frame continuation in strength over the coming months, which is what we would generally consider a traditional bull run. So we are entering and we have officially entered the traditional bull run. Fantastic stuff. Let's go ahead now and discuss. We've discussed everything that we want to talk about at that. Let's go ahead and talk about the total cryptocurrency market cap, guys. So the total cryptocurrency market cap is breaking through a major point of resistance. This point of resistance, and Bitcoin's kind of catching up. Well, I mean, the total cryptocurrency market cap, sorry, it's kind of catching up to Bitcoin. Bitcoin's sitting, I'll show you where Bitcoin's sitting in respect to the total cryptocurrency market cap. Bitcoin's sitting within this range over here, this upper level of resistance. So we are still expecting the total cryptocurrency market cap to follow Bitcoin. Like we said, we do expect it to follow Bitcoin, and it is behind Bitcoin ever so slightly. We are expecting a continuation into this range before any potential rejections or again continuations higher. So the next expectation is around 2.4 to 2.35 trillion, looking good overall. Looking at the altcoin market, we are very, very lagging in comparison to Bitcoin, in comparison to the broader total cryptocurrency market cap, which is totally acceptable. Again, guys, we are looking for a move up to our level of resistance, which we have basically hit. If we remember back to when we were talking about this chart, so long ago, we talked about this level of resistance around 630 trillion. We've actually come up and retested that level. Now, if we go over to the total altcoin market cap, we can see, guys, that level of resistance over here is kind of essentially akin to the total altcoin market cap, total cryptocurrency market cap retesting this range over here. If we have that sell side liquidity low over here, the sell side liquidity low over here before that bounce, okay, which is where the total cryptocurrency market cap is over here now, we are retesting level. And what we have noticed here on the total cryptocurrency market cap is this level provided a massive area of consolidation and resistance before a huge expansion in price action. So we could be preparing for a similar reaction here on the altcoins. Maybe we see some stagnation, maybe we see some sideways consolidation before a massive expansion in price action to close to that $1 trillion level, guys. Overall, the altcoin market cap should follow the total market cap at some point. And we are still expecting us to move into an all-time high territory. Where do I expect it to go? I'm looking at this trend line over here, maybe somewhere around this red line, maybe somewhere around this red line, depending, of course, when that top area is going to be in. That is still, 10x's for altcoins at the minimum if that does occur. Thank you for watching, guys. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. We'll catch you guys in our next video on Sunday. Have a good one. We'll see you then. Cheers.